Welcome to the Merrily End. My name's Mark Machado. I'm in New York and I'm joined by my cousin who's in Boston, Dominic Machado. We are reacting to Sri Lanka's ODI series win against Bangladesh, an emphatic victory. If you haven't heard or come across us before with the Merrily End, we discuss Sri Lankan cricket almost all the time. Feels like, Dominic, we're doing it every day at the moment. We've been doing. There's a lot going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on at the moment. Hit the subscribe, hit the follow. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also listen to this as a podcast. It's in your podcast app. Search for Merrily End or Sri Lankan cricket, or I think actually if you search Mark Machado or Dominic Machado, it comes up as well. Though there is also a famous famous tattooist with my name. We need to get into this game a little bit though, Dom, because I think there's a lot of good to come off it. There wasn't much anxiety, but there is a few trends that I think are kind of developing that we need to talk about. Firstly, it's obviously fantastic that Sri Lanka got the win against Bangladesh in the series. I thought that was kind of important because winning his habitual. What are your kind of top takeaways from that performance?
Couple of things. I think the bowling was uniformly very, very good. They were tight. They were on line, on length. They were hitting the stumps. They were kind of pushing to constantly take wickets. It was a team effort. The fast bowlers struck early. The spinners then struck, and then the fast bowlers came back on and provided more pressure. Really, really well done. Really, really well done as a group. So I thought that was really, really impressive. The other big takeaway, and this is one from the whole series, is that Kusal Mendes has been in superb form. He was man of the series, man of the match. He scored a top-notch 100. Chanceless basically looked like he had no problem scoring any runs or having any problems. He was brilliant. And he just keeps on getting better and better, which is what we love to see. Since Charith Asalanka has taken the captaincy, there's been 16 matches played. Kusal is averaging 56, striking at 98, and has scored 300s and 5 50s. And mind you, before Asalanka took over the captaincy, he had 300s in total. So it's been a particularly purple patch for him. So that's those are the positive takeaways for me. And Savina brings up a really important point. Dushmantha Chamira being back, bowling quick, accurate in the wickets. When he's doing that, we know he's a huge, huge addition to this side. And he can do things that our other fast bowlers can't. So props to him for keeping on fighting and trying to make something of his career, even though he's been sort of called as done many times before.
I mean, you say trying to make something for his career. I mean, there's a good argument that this is the high point of his career. He's coming off the back of the IPL where the opportunities he got, he took. And now he's back in the national side taking wickets, right? It feels like, and obviously you're just one bad run for it to kind of go back to it. But it feels like the days of being injured a lot might be slightly behind us. We know when we look at the fast bowlers for England, for Australia, and even for South Africa, it appears to me that when you actually get to your early 30s, you get fit at that point. That seems to be the point from which you kind of need to find that consistency.
Mark, just a small point. You're off to the side, and your volume is a little bit off. So,
what is going on? Is this better?
That is much. Well, I can hear you better, but now you're even more off to the side. So
right. What about this? I don't know what's happening. Right, a
little bit more over, and then you're good. Perfect.
Right, the technology's really let me down because I look when my screen on StreamYard, which is the software we use. I look. In fact, you know what? I'm going to take a photo and I'm going to post it to. Well, I might post it into our various WhatsApp channels. We have a Merrily End WhatsApp channel. If you don't know about it, I'll put something in the in the links for the channel in the description. I'm always updating stuff, whatever's going on with Sri Lanka cricket. I try and get it in there. Obviously, I live in a different time zone to Colombo, though, so sometimes things happen much. Don't happen quite while I'm asleep, basically. I want to talk a little bit about the batting, though. Well, let's talk about the bat before we get onto the bowling. Mm-hmm. So I thought good day with the bat, obviously, for Kusal Mendis. What surprised me, though, is the way in which some of our players were getting out, because I think I counted at least 3 of them got out, including Kusal Mendis, basically trying to clobber the ball across the line. I saw that a little bit at the Bangladeshians as well. They were trying to do it as well. When you play like that, you will get caught out on the boundary. I was discussing this with someone else during the game, and we were talking about how when you see the big hitters for other teams try and find the boundary, they do it just through kind of good, strong technique, traditional cricket technique. And actually, the hitting across the line is a little bit kind of slightly out of fashion. And I felt today, the players that I saw do it, and I think the 3 that come to mind first are Kusal, Patam, and Charith, probably weren't like Charith and Kusal just didn't need to get out. They could have just stayed there playing the way they were staying. They didn't need to try and find the boundary. I understand that there was a bit of boundary pressure comes on when you don't get it, but they just kept it ticking over, right? So you don't need. You don't
got out in the 47th over, so I do think.
Yeah. I am being a bit harsh on him, right? I know I'm being total Sri Lankan uncle, right? These are 3 kind of.
I was going to say you sound like my dad. No, don't play shots across the line, otherwise you'll get caught out.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things happen when you play across the line. It forces the batter into taking risks that they don't necessarily want to take, right? And that's why they're doing it. And secondly, I think it's basically showing blood to the bowler, because they're like, right, we can set them up here. Even if you do get a couple of, I felt today with those 3 wickets, as they'd started to play in that fashion and almost immediately got out. I don't think we had anyone hit across the line that was successful, right? Where I think generally, see if you do get 2 or 3 across good shots across the line, I think the bowlers think, right, we can get them here, we can set them up. We might go for a few runs. We might have to give away 12 runs in the process, but that 4th ball we're going to win. And it's interesting because that's definitely a way Wani and even Teaksha to a degree get wickets at points in their game. So it's interesting that it's something that our batters think that they might need to do. And yeah, I am being a bit harsh, but I think we've seen so much maturity in coming to our batting in the top order. I think these are kind of conversations that they're probably having as well. They'll be sitting there probably, Sanath is one for standards. He keeps standards high in the side. We know when he was a player, he was all about fitness and all about analysing his game. So they'll be analysing, right, how are we getting out? What are we doing? And it felt to me like there was almost like a conscious decision at points in their individual batters' games. Right, we need to start looking for boundaries, and that's when we gave wickets away. I think the other thing we need to talk about with our batting, Dom, is 2 things. Sri Lanka must have a record for a team where players hit their own wicket more than anyone else. I feel like it happens to us like once a series. And secondly, I think we need to talk a little bit about the order at which the lower, middle order, upper tail end is coming in, because I didn't think it was unusual for Weller to come in when he ahead of Wani, but I think a lot of people online, including yourself, were expecting Wani to come in ahead of Weller, right?
Yeah. So for me, I think part of this issue of playing across the line, looking for boundaries, and Abdullah is totally on here, right? Is that
so? Just for the tape, Dom, I will say Abdullah said need more concentration from lower order with some power hitters included. Yeah, I think that's right. But go on, Dom. Sorry.
And so to tie in a couple of things here, I think the scoreboard pressure is telling. Someone like Charith, he batted well. I don't want to criticize Charith because I think he's been one of our most consistent players, but he plays a lot of dot balls. And playing a lot of dot balls creates pressure because if you're not getting singles or doubles, you're going to have to make it up in boundaries. So the need to take a big shot is much higher. And someone like Jonathan Leonage, who comes in the 40th over, is playing out dot balls. And to me, that's just not okay. You have a spread field. You should very easily be able to pinch a single and score runs. And this gets me to kind of Tishana's point. When Mendes bats, we win. When Jonathan bats, we lose. Jonathan's average is 75 when we lose, which tells you something about the role he's good at playing. He's really good at consolidating when there's trouble, right? Wickets fall, he needs to consolidate and score runs. He can do that. But for me, that position is the position at number 4. It's not the position at number 6, because in modern ODI cricket, you need that 6, 7, 8 to kind of power you on. And this again ties into what you were talking about, Mark, where natural power hitters don't need to slog. They just play in the arc and hit the ball out of the ground, right? So the fact that we are forcing Potham, Charith, and Kusal, all of whom can hit but aren't natural, I wouldn't call them natural power hitters, to hit across the line, they're sort of everything to our batting. If one of those guys doesn't score big runs, we won't win. They're the consistent part of our batting lineup. But the other part of that is we also expect them to provide the impetus. We want Potham to get off to a good start. We need Kusal to get us boundaries. We need Charith to finish the innings. So that's a lot of expectation to be both the engine room in terms of run scoring and the powerhouse, right? That's a lot. That's a lot to ask of those players. And I just don't think we're getting from 2, 4, or 6, 7, 8. We're not really getting very much. And we really should have scored 320 today. Against a good team, we would have had it handed to us.
Yeah, I think to go full Sri Lankan uncle, I think falling short of 300 today wasn't ideal. Like,
yeah,
I thought when Kusal and Charith were batting, I thought 300 should have been the kind of minimum target. That was my Dominic just. If you're listening, Dominic just moved back slightly to reveal a Barcelona shirt, which has totally thrown me. Oh my gosh! Like, oh wow, wasn't expecting that. Anyway, so I thought 300 felt like, to me, it was like I always thought to anything over 260, 270 was probably going to be enough, but I thought 300 was what the challenge we should have set ourselves today. And it's disappointing that we didn't quite get there, and I think that speaks to management of our tail as well, of our lower middle order and our tail. Incidentally, I do feel we should shout out Chamira as well, not just with the ball, but with the bat here. He finishes off like as well as could be expected for a player of his abilities, right?
Yeah.
This message has come in from Hello. I don't understand SLC's thinking. Why would they send Weller over Asalanka? What do you guys think? Look, so I kind of get the impression that Wani as a batter is something that's kind of off the table now. Like, they're just asking him to focus on his bowling. I think the impression I get is that he wants to focus on his bowling. I kind of feel like Weller's actually, in his short time in the team, being a little bit more consistent with the bat than one he has. I feel like I could make a case for having Weller in before Wani.
I think,
but I could be like
I feel like the case. So see, this is the thing. They average about the same. They average about 22. The difference is that Wani strikes above 100 and Wella strikes about 80. So for me, I have no problem with Wella coming in over Wani if there's time to score runs. And I wonder if maybe one of the solutions to this is if moving Wella up to 4, because you get a lot of flexibility. Kamindu, and we'll get to some comments about Kamindu, has been struggling. He's averaging 21 at a strike rate of 72. And that's just that's not cutting it at the moment. He has a big role to play in our side for the future. We can let him rest and allow him to develop his skills more so that he feels more of a natural fit. And I think by sliding Wella up to 4, you kind of get the best of both worlds, where you can sneak in an extra power hitter, maybe an all-rounder, but you also have his bowling. Because if you can get a top order player who can contribute with the ball, that's just a huge plus to your team. So for me, that's what I'm thinking, is that Wella might be a guy who you want to see at 4. But when there are 5 overs left and you want boundaries, there's no doubt to my mind that Asalanka is the guy who can do that. Even if he's been told to give up his batting, just his sheer power as a batter is far more than Wella is at this point.
So for me, with the Kamindu debate, if you want to call it that, quotation marks if you're not watching, I think the thing is, and like this comment says SL needs to give Kamindu more time. In the meantime, SL's lower middle order is bad. The team is short of one batsman. I think the thing is, Kamindu's going to come good though, isn't he? Like, we need to we are in a slight luxury, and obviously we're one series away from everything going bad, and me regretting saying this, of, I think, having players around Kamindu who are kind of decent enough so that one of our top 5 can basically go out of form in the way Kamindu has, and it be not the worst thing. I do wonder though if that second spot with Patham at the top isn't quite nailed down yet, and if somebody else could come in and kind of seize it if given the opportunity. We talked yesterday when we were discussing the T20 squad about Avishka. I think Avishka's moment might have passed. I think if they don't fancy Avishka as an opener currently, when there is so much good batting around him and so much of that top order seems to be in ODI form. I say top 5, it's really a top 6, isn't it? Because you can kind of throw Lianage in there as somebody who's been consistent recently, right? Then if they're not giving Avishka the chance, then Madushka either grabs it or he hasn't this time around. These 3 matches, somebody else is going to step up and have a go. And I wonder if, like, for me, I think you've still got to keep Kamindu involved in the ODI team, and just he should feel like he's got the space that he doesn't need to. No, obviously he wants to. We know he wants to. He's a professional athlete, but we don't want to be in a situation like we've had in the past where players are petrified of not performing every game, and that leading to a lot more playing across the line and a lot more other bad decisions being made in game, which I think we're kind of away from at the moment. I feel like this isn't the dark days of 2018 where, you know, every Sri Lanka 11 felt like there was 8 or 9 players in there who weren't playing the previous game, and you know, it was 3 or 4 debuts every game. This isn't that. We've moved away from that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this is the question, though. Do we shuffle things up, right? Because we have the luxury, we don't have to put Kamindu under the spotlight. We can say, all right.
Yeah, so Kamindu as an opener, which has been suggested by Savina here. I just think the thing is, I could be wrong because I don't look at every domestic card, so I don't look at every game of cricket Kamindu plays, but I've not seen it anywhere before. So I mean, does he want to face the new ball? Does he, you know, what would he do? What would he feel like? I also think he's kind of had a big year. This time last year, he wasn't the wicket to get when you played Sri Lanka, right? But 12 months on, and he's one of the players that people are talking about when they talk about Sri Lankan cricket at the moment. It went from, he had a really good test series against Bangladesh, last April, May.
Yeah.
And then he kind of continued that test form all the way through the year. You know, his test form's great, and now he's become one of the big fish in the side, right? He's got to adapt to the fact that he is the player every team wants to get out.
Yeah.
And I don't think Patham and Kusalov are too far behind. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it takes time, right?
And I think a couple of things. I saw a comment. Where was it? This to me, listen to Lincoln, says I think shot selection and strike rotation. I don't have any.
Yeah, I'll read the comment out as well. Kamindu
Yeah.
needs to learn shot selection, how to rotate the strike in ODIs. For now, bat him at 7 or have him open and go guns blazing. If Kamindu's up for opening, let him open. But I'm just not sure that he wants to do it, because I kind of feel that if he wanted to do it, they would have had that conversation already. I also I kind of think Kamindu, for most Sri Lankan people, us included, I'm actually 88. We all look quite young, right?
Yeah.
So, but Kamindu weirdly has quite a mature face. So sometimes I look at him and I just think, he's like an old man, but he's not, is he? He's like his mid-20s.
He's 26. Yeah.
26. He's got years to go.
So, and I'll throw this out there. I'm curious to hear people's thoughts. So I wonder if someone like Lasith Kruspalay could come in and play that number 2 spot and just give him license to go and say, hey, just be aggressive, play your natural game, take on the fast bowlers, just allow Patham to settle and play his own natural game that he wants to play. I wonder also how much of this batting strategy is dictated by the pitches that are prepared. So if par is around 250, 260, that's a very different thing than par being 350, and your team construction is correspondingly different. So one thing maybe to ponder, and if any journalists are listening, to ask Sanath is, are you constructing a team based on 250 being a par score? Or are you constructing a team based on the fact that 300, 350 may be a par score in other places? Because to me right now, this is the side you would construct if 250 is a par score. Now, if we go to South Africa and all the pitches are roads, this squad is going to be in big trouble. And I think taking that into consideration, someone like Chamindu Wickramasinghe, fast bowling all-rounder, Chamika Karunaratne, another fast bowling all-rounder, both of whom have power, both of whom can bat, would be an ideal fit for like a number 6 position. And then you have the likes of Chamindu Chamika, Hasaranga. You have guys who can add impetus to the innings and sort of elevate the run rate. So to me, I think you've got a 1, 3, and 5 pretty well set. If you can add a couple players who can just add that push, that extra push to the innings, that's what's going to make them a very competitive team.
So it's very interesting what you were saying there, Dom, about this team being a 250 team, because it looks to me like Sri Lanka kind of have the ingredients ready to go. The cake is baked. It's sticking the icing. It's finishing it off, isn't it? It's we are 2 years out from that World Cup, that 50 over World Cup. I think this, if you look back at the last couple of ODI World Cups, this is as good a shape as we've been since kind of 2015 already, right? I would feel kind of confident on this side. I say by confident, I mean I wouldn't be expecting this team to win it, but I think if things go our way, we could go deep in a tournament. We haven't had much luck since 2015 in almost any tournament, apart from seemingly when we play England. But I think it's all in all, now that we can you have to put ODIs to bed till we go to Zimbabwe the next month. I think we're in a pretty good place. I think that Zimbabwe series, considering we're 2 years out, and I don't know where Sri Lanka are going to end up playing their cricket in the World Cup in terms of how far away they are from Harare, but that's about as close as we're going to get to South Africa for a little while. Right.
We got a lot of comments, Mark. You want to read them out? I think all related to batting before we talk a little bit about the bowling.
Yeah. So I'll go from. Hold on. Let me try and go from top up. I won't listen to Lycon's first comment, but thanks. It's just saying thanks for the podcast. That's great. Hold on. I'm trying to go. Oh, there's a lot of comments, isn't there?
Yeah.
Sahel said SLC needs to give community more time. We kind of talked about that. I'm trying to look for something that we haven't talked about. Praveen said someone on Twitter suggested moving Mendes to the top with a new guy at 3 or 4 to be an option in ODI cricket, like Nawindu or whoever's doing well. there was a couple of comments I just want to get through because I can answer some of these questions.
Mhm.
Someone was asking about Siobhan Daniels. I've missed that. Abdullah was asking about Siobhan Daniels, and there was another one that was asking about Cruz Play as well. Asking where they are. They're on the A tour,
Yeah.
right? So you haven't been following it. The first match, Sri Lanka got skittled out by Australian fast bowlers pretty easily and pretty quickly. I think only Kamal Mishra was able to kind of come away with any sort of respectful score from that. I would say the kind of mitigating circumstances behind it is I think the Sri Lanka players only got to Darwin about 2 days for that first game.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if jet lag and so on came into it. The second match, Sri Lanka actually came back and beat them, and a number of our players actually scored quite a few.
Yeah, a couple of guys we just named. Nuanindu Fernando scored an 82, and Lasith Kruspole scored a 63. So in some ways, we criticize the squad for not being developmental enough, but at least those guys are out there playing cricket. Siobhan, just to mention, he was on that emerging tour to the Windies. He didn't have a particularly great time there, but he's still in their plan. So the good news is that these guys we're mentioning aren't just sitting there. They're guys who actually are playing A-team cricket or emerging cricket, and we're keeping a close eye on them. As I said, Chris Poulet's had a good series so far.
Abdullah has said, got to stop playing matches in paddy fields and stop the mentality of players for not choosing to score above 300. When I first read that comment, I thought Abdullah was having a go at, not having a go, kind of gently telling me and Dom off for being a bit critical of the team not get to 300. See, I think the pitches thing, it's almost like actually, well, maybe what the strategy should be is just telling the groundsman to create a mystery pitch or create a pitch that's as much like Newlands or as East London or wherever we might end up playing in South Africa as they possibly can. As I said yesterday or the day before, I don't know anything about topology. I don't know anything about trying to create a cricket pitch. I have no idea how easy or hard it is to create a pitch in Kandy that plays like a pitch in South Africa. But I think that's what we should kind of trying to be emulating. The other thing I will say is I was reading something the other day and I was talking to Jared Kimber about this a while ago, where the two places on the planet, which are two cricket test playing nations on the planet, which apparently are the most affected by climate change, are South Africa and Sri Lanka, right? In South Africa, the way their pitches play has totally changed over the last few years. And I know in Sri Lanka, well, there's just a lot more rain than there used to be, and it's difficult to predict when it's going to come. Of course, we are blessed because not only do we have the best cricketers, not only do we have the best post-show podcast shows, but we also have the best ground staff as well, and the most numerous, seemingly, or numerous, I should say. So I think the actual surfaces need a lot more care and attention than they used to.
Yeah. Should we turn to the bowling?
Yeah, should we look at the bowling? So good day all round for our bowlers, I thought, Dom. We talked about Shamira a little bit at the top of the show, and I'm gonna have to mention. I know he's one of my favourites, and I mention him every chance I get. But Weller was good as well. He did that thing which I love, which is he kind of just got the job done.
And I think in the middle overs, he's such a force. I think he and Hasaranga can be really hard to get away. Especially when Hasaranga bowls flatter, I think they can really cause a lot of havoc. And eventually, slowly through the pressure buildup, they were able to create wickets. So that was the thing to me that was super exciting. Well, as always in the game, he's excited. You saw how pumped up he was after taking those 2 wickets. He's massively worked on it. But the seamers, we got to shout out Asita Fernando for backing up his performance last match with another good game. There were a couple times where I felt like a trick was missed, where there were no slips, even though Sri Lanka were ahead of the game. And I think that's an attitude thing. When your fast bowlers are bowling and they're bowling well and capable of taking wickets, you got to support them. Put the guys, behind the wicket there so that they can catch the ball. So I was really, really pleased. I thought they hunted in packs. I thought the rotation of bowlers was quite good. And I think this 5-man attack looks quite good. And I think that it's that second, third seamer role that's the question. We kind of played a 6-5 today because we basically used 5 bowlers. Kamindu had a couple overs. Charith didn't bowl. So it would be interesting to see what role an all-rounder could play in that. But I view this as mostly playing 5 strict bowlers.
So, I mean, we talk about this every time we come on, right? Hello has written in and said the most exciting part of today's match is that 6 of the 10 wickets came from the seamers when Dilshan Madhushankar, Ishan Malinga, and Milan Ratnayaka were on the bench. I mean, yeah, it's for Sri Lanka to win Wonderland, right? When was the last time that I say this every time? When was the last time? We have never had bowlers this many bowlers this good. It's unbelievable. I talked a few shows ago about how it's what's got to happen now is some of the seamers have to put their hands up and say, I am the one. I am the person that you want to play every single game. I am the one who's going to get you wickets. I'm the one you throw the ball to when you need to break a partnership. I kind of feel this series, Asita Fernando has done that a little bit, as much as he possibly could. Asita Fernando, he looks like he's going to be too short to be a fast bowler, but he does it. He's a real handful for bowlers. My only concern is that we play him so much, he might end up breaking down. I kind of was surprised he wasn't in the T20 squad, even though I know there's so much talent around. I think whatever's going on in terms of whatever coach he's getting, whatever management he's getting, it's absolutely working, and they just need to lean into it. It's kind of like, to use a football analogy, this might not make any sense to you, Dominic, but I'm sure there's various US sporting analogies that would make sense. It's like when you go out and you spend 65 million on a striker, but actually the person who scores all your goals was a striker you bought for 8 million 5 seasons ago and had forgotten about. But he was the guy that has been there for ages, and he eventually becomes the guy, and he becomes much more valuable to your team than the 65 million pound guy, right? That's kind of what Asita Fernando is for Sri Lankan cricket at the moment. He kind of looks unfashionable, but he's worth his weight in gold.
I was going to say, this raises the question that Listen to Lincoln brought up. What do you all think about Chameera not being in the T20 squad? If he's good enough for the IPL, surely he's good enough for us.
Go on, Dom.
I was going to say, I was thinking, and we mentioned this yesterday when we were potting, that what I want is an out-and-out strike bowler up front. And Chameera is the closest thing that we've had to a guy who can strike with frequency in the early overs. We saw him do that in the 2021 World Cup. The short bits of the 2022 World Cup that he did play, he was able to do that. So for me, I would think he should be in and around the squad. And I think him being healthy and productive is something that we want. I think we can also manage him at the same time. We don't need him in the squad tomorrow for him to be in the World Cup squad. Keep on giving him chances to bowl, see how he's doing. If he's providing the impact, he's high on the list of Sri Lankan seamers as far as a 15 for the World Cup go.
So I think this T20 squad, actually, our T20 squad is quite set in a way. We kind of know most of our players. I think one of the areas is that seam bowling positions, right? There's about 6 or 7 players who could do a job there, and you'd be like, these are world-class seamers, right? So I think actually Chameera, we know someone who does break down quite frequently. We know he has injuries. Not looking at Chameera, giving Asita a rest, I don't think it's the worst thing that could have happened. It's interesting that they opted to play him, to bring him into this squad when he wasn't in it initially. I wonder if they knew something about he needs to have a break next week or next few days, not today, Saturday or whatever. whatever, however it's kind of worked out. The other thing I should point out is that when Sri Lanka, and I'm saying this because I know a lot of people do know this, but a lot of people don't as well. When the Sri Lanka team kind of train almost like a club side, right? So they in Colombo they train. There's about 30 or 40 of them turn up for training. Even though there's only 16 of them in the squad of 17 or however many, the others are often there and around, right? Which is why when they have the cutaways of the high performance center, you know, you see Panura and you see a few of the other lads there, and you might be like, why are they there? They're not in the squad. And it'll be like, well, they're there all the time. The guys who are centrally contracted can come in, are in and out and training, and they have plans for how those players are going to improve and what they're and how to get better. So that's so just because they're not in a squad, this is particularly pertinent with the bowlers, it doesn't mean they're not being looked at and they don't know what's going on with them. Kasun has said, imagine when Asita teams up with Laharu Kamara. How good would that be? Asita and Laharu are the same age and have been playing together since they were kids. Both of them are aggressive. Look, I'm a big fan of Laharu Kamara. I imagine we would have seen him in the squad this week if he wasn't injured, or I don't know what his kind of current injury status is. When look, one of the greatest sporting moments of my life was being at the Oval last summer, and just after lunch when someone got, you know, Laharu Kamara's Sri Lanka's version of Dr. Bruce Banner. It's like you're gonna absolutely love him. He's a brilliant bloke, but you'll hate him when he gets angry if you're an opposite batter. And in the at the Oval that day, England made him angry, and boy did they hate him after that.
Yeah, it reminds me. Do you remember the 2022 World Cup game against Australia where he was just ruffling feathers? I think again it speaks to the depth that we have, and we have to find the way to get the most out of these players because they're really special. We're going to talk more about the cricket, but Mark, this popped up. We have to address this.
Yeah, Teachner Praveen has said, I have the most important question. Do you guys eat Sri Lankan curry? Absolutely, I eat Sri Lankan curry. Dominic eats Sri Lankan curry. In fact, I'd say it's kind of my life's work. I'm like the Marco Polo of Sri Lankan curry, Sri Lankan food. In fact, all South Asian cuisine. I will travel extensively around the globe to go and eat at Sri Lankan restaurants, and have done. Only on Sunday did I take the ferry to Staten Island to go and have Sri Lankan food over there. Dom, do you want to add any more?
Oh yeah, of course we eat Sri Lankan curry. This is a frequent point of discussion that comes up. Mark is partial to a good black pork curry. Hard to beat my own mother's chicken curry or shrimp curry. Amazing. Even my 7-year-old son, he just can't eat. He eats shrimp curry 3 times a day when he's at his ummy's house. So we do eat Sri Lankan curry. We love Sri Lankan foods of all kinds. We're always on the lookout for a good place to get one outside of our family's homes, because that's obviously the best. But if you know a good place in any of the areas we're in, we will absolutely go. Actually, the last time we saw each other, we met up for some Sri Lankan food.
No, Dom, I saw you on I was
2 times ago. That's right.
Yeah, when you were in London, we went to Manila and Sanga's restaurant, Colombo, didn't we? On Carnaby Street.
Yeah.
In London. It was great. There's a couple of other things come in. Savina, I do have a question. Do you know another spinner that is present if we have injuries to Asalanka, Teach, and Jeffrey? Which could happen that has ability to take wickets? I mean, I think we're getting incredibly unlucky if those three are all injured at the same time. Veerskant, yeah, Abdullah, right, Veerskant, yeah.
Also, Dushan Hemantha continues to play quite regularly and take wickets. I know he didn't do quite as well as we wanted in the 2023 World Cup, but he's definitely there. And Tharinder Ratnayaka, someone who's been around the side, bowls with both arms. And Sanal Danusha is also playing in the A team. So those are sort of the next cabs off the rank, so to speak, if one of those guys were to get injured.
Yeah, also, the other thing I will add is, like, England, if you've seen Shoaib Bashir bowl, would absolutely kill for a spinner of kind of Kamindu's abilities. Lakshan, Kasun has said Lakshan, Sandakan. Yeah, I think there's a whole clutch of players. Spinners is never been an issue for Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
right?
Praveen Matthew, again, sort of if Deekshana gets injured, he's the guy that I'm thinking would come in because he's a very much a like for like there.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. We've got loads of comments there. I'm not sure we're going to get through all of them. Lister like the Asalanka injury might be a blessing in disguise to test our bench strength and see who else can lock down a spot.
Oh, Akila Dhananjaya, we shouldn't forget.
Oh, yeah, he's the default in the squad, right? Hasaranka's injury, I thought it was quite interesting that some of the commentary actually kind of annoyed me because if you're injured, you just shouldn't play. There's no point. The only reason where if you're injured, you should carry on playing is if it's a World Cup final or this is an interesting name for a white ball squad, DDS. Sorry, going back to Hasaranka's injury, the only reason you should play if you're injured is if it's a World Cup final or it's a knockout game and you're doing something absolutely extraordinary. That said, I don't think Asalanka was playing on one leg as described. I think it was an injury that the medical team thought he could get over.
Yeah.
Or wasn't major enough.
We remember the LPL, right? When he played through the torn hamstring. He could hardly walk when he was
Savina's written, I think Hasaranka plays better when he is injured. I hate that. I hate that they were saying that on commentary. It's such a weird thing to say. Just want another comment. I need to go off, Dom, soon. I need to end this stream soon. Because I've got to go to the MetLife Stadium for Fluminense versus Chelsea.
Okay.
In the first game of the Club World Cup, a ticket I bought for like $20. Ruin said KJP for ODIs if his body can handle it. I'm not sure about that.
My thought on this, Ron, is not right now because we absolutely need him for the T20 World Cup. So for me, keep him in the glass case till the T20 World Cup happens, and then if he's still in good form, we can bring him in for ODIs. I think he could be a really good opener with Patham, left hand, right hand, aggression, sort of all those kind of things. So that's a possibility. But
can I chuck another name in if we're going down that route?
No,
Chandimal.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Angelo returns as the opener.
Oh my gosh!
No,
no Chandy. Fairly consistent in Test cricket. Better with age.
But I don't think we need guys to anchor. We need guys who can just like bring the aggression so that our top batters can be more comfortable.
Yeah, I think we've been total Sri Lankan uncles on this.
I'm sure we are.
I mean, it was an emphatic victory. You look back on the series and you're like, all right. Patham and Madhushra could have scored a few more runs at the top. Wasn't a total disaster though. And there was a few other moments. Kamindi could have got some runs. Other than that, the batting is kind of all right. We're doing okay. And the bowling it's been fantastic yet again. Dom, shall we kind of wrap it up there for today? I do have one question actually. Hello. You're always in the comments, always great questions, great comments. I just want to know, hello, what is hello? Is your name hello? If it's not hello, what is your name? And also, where are you messaging us from? Hello, that's all I want to know. I just want to know where everyone is. And thanks for listening. Thanks for interacting.
Yeah, thanks for the engagement. It's so much fun when we have all these comments to read through because so much of the time it's just. Like Mark and I are in our heads thinking it's Sri Lanka. And so what could we do? Could we move around? And we're thinking all these names. So hearing what you all have to say, that's just a joy. It makes this so much fun.
Yeah, we're trying to build a community. Also, that said, couple things. If you haven't joined the WhatsApp chat, join that already, and or join it as soon as you can. I'll put a link in the description. I'll tweet a link out this afternoon on Twitter as well. And also, if you are we are looking for someone to help us with our social media as well. So if you know anything about social media, if you want to try and break into kind of sports writing, journalism, social media, digital marketing, all that kind of space, then drop me an email. You can see it on our socials. It's mark@machado.co.uk, and we can try and work something out. It's an unpaid position. We all do this kind of voluntarily, but we are kind of slowly trying to build a movement and growing. Savina's written Sri Lankan citizen. I am a Sri Lankan citizen as well, I should add.
We still don't know. We were talking about this when I saw Mark on Friday. We have no idea how he became a Sri Lankan citizen at birth, despite, they just sensed it coursing through his blood. So
yeah. They, I was born in London, but not too far away from the embassy. So, if you know where the embassy is in London and you know the geography, you'll know exactly what hospital I was born in. There's a famous bear named after where it is. Guys, let's leave it there. The plan for us is we've got the kind of day off tomorrow because there's no Sri Lanka can't do anything. If anything happens, we'll do an emergency pod. When Angelo gets selected, we'll do an emergency pod. But we'll be back on Wednesday reacting to whatever happens after the first T20 against Bangladesh. We are now firmly on the road to that T20 World Cup. Sri Lanka and India, the hosts. It could be the road to Ahmedabad. It could be the road to Colombo. We don't know. Such is the nature of cricket. So stick with us. Tell all your friends about us. Leave your comments. Remember to subscribe to the audio and the podcast and all that. Come along with the journey with us. We're going. Sri Lanka going to take us all the way. We're the Merrily End. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye.